Hi Germar.
Hi Steve.
I'd like to have a discussion with you about the operating model of defence organisations. As you know, these vary widely. You've got some organisations that are self-defence forces, others have limited strike capabilities, and others have sort of full spectrum warfare capabilities. But what they've all got in common is they're configured for the previous era. What do you think needs to change?
Yeah, thank you, Steve. I think we see this in many countries, specifically in Europe, that we have built-in complexity that has grown over time, and also grown in peacetime. And we listen to quotes and people saying we need 90 signatures for any kind of decision that we are taking. So in this situation where we need faster decisions and more agility, this cannot be sustained, right? We need to change this. We need to have quicker and slimmer structures in the ministries, and some ministries have already reacted. So we see this not only in the UK, but also in Netherlands or Switzerland or Germany have taken efforts. In the paper we are highlighting, for example, a clearer segregation between ministry, headquarters and National Armament Directorate. One aspect for the ministry has become very important, which is it's not the defense organization alone. The defense organization is operating in complex whole-of-society efforts concerning civil protection tasks, but also concerning the tasks like, in Germany's case, being a transit nation and securing corresponding capabilities, securing transport. This cannot be done by the military side alone, but must be done in conjunction with civil forces and civil capabilities. And this is something that needs to be trained and coordinated.
In our viewpoint, we highlight the fundamental changes that are needed in workforce and the ability of defence organisations to attract, retain people with the right skills.
Yeah.
I mean, in the UK, there's a lot of thinking going on into like Z-pathing, bringing people in from the private sector. I know in Germany and the Netherlands, there's talk about reservists, etc. Can you elaborate on this point for us?
I think this is indeed an effort that's come to most military organizations again. We are competing in a war for talent, right? Defense organizations have the issue that the recruiting processes in military are mostly, at this stage still, non-digital, physical and very lengthy. Therefore also not competitive on the market. We are just too slow, right, in many aspects, to get specifically higher skilled people and get them interested in career paths in the military. So we need to get better. And there is, of course, methods and tools that can be used for interactive digital dialogue with the corresponding applicants, matching needs, creating offers quickly, using artificial intelligence for this. So getting basically applicants to see that the military is a modern organization, can attract the right skills. Some digital tools, and prioritize at the same time the physical recruiter interaction very efficiently. This is one aspect. The other is to retain and empower the staff, because in many organizations we at the same time have still a high dropout rate of people who join the military and then again basically walk out after a few months because they have witnessed it's not the right thing for them and it's not what they expected. So also improving basically retention methods and getting people educated what they need to bring and what they are expecting is very important. No matter, however, how successful these methods are, I think there's no doubt that current forces we need to be augmented by a significantly enhanced and skilled reserve. Right. There's no planning at the moment that effectively we work without activating reserve models. And you mentioned the UK example of better exchange between industry, civil employers and reserve models, making clear that there's chances for upskilling and that there's chances for career paths. At the same time, also the need in reservist models to ensure that these people are not only educated, but they are also equipped and they can also be used when they are needed. I think many organizations currently work on refining these models. But this is one aspect. I also feel specifically when we look at the whole scope of capabilities that the military organizations currently have to support, there is capabilities that are not necessarily core military, but that they are support. And in this sense, I think managed services play a major role, given current skill shortage and also with the intention to focus staff on the core tasks. Can you elaborate a little on that?
Yes, yeah, and in the last 2 years, we've been increasingly involved in delivering managed services. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. So one, as you've highlighted, there are resource shortages, not just in the military, but also in the civil bits of defence as well. And they're therefore unable to respond to sort of like surge requirements, like when they close the budget, for example, or the financial year, or if there's a big procurement. And what they've done is they've ended up with lots of individual contractors or contractors from small companies. And that's fine, but when it comes to having a defined way of delivering things and using tools and developing digital ways to deliver, then that's not always ideal. So with a managed service, you can solve all of those things. And what we've done quite successfully is to sit alongside a defence client and work with them to improve the delivery of the service, its speed, but also its cost by applying some of our technology to their problems and helping them to upskill. And that's been really effective. And we've done this in developing application managed services, program delivery, and also in supply chain and procurement. So it's been very successful. Now, I just mentioned procurement there, and that procurement's another area that we highlight in the viewpoint. So can you give us your views on that?
Procurement process at the moment, given in many countries the capability gap we're still facing, I think we can say they take too long. And at the same time, the way they are set up from the past where we had 15 times to develop systems, and now the technology lifecycle has become so fast that we just don't have that time. Effectively, we can see it in projects like the Eurodrone project. Technology was developed 10, 15 years ago. Effectively now, we have so much basically movement in the drone technology that the question will arise, how can I keep up, right? I think for procurement organization, there's a couple of things we see, right? So the one thing is that we need to introduce processes that separate material categories more strictly. For example, there's a huge difference between standard material versus complex IT systems or software development, and should be much more clearly separated and have own processes. At the same time, we need competence centers with end-to-end weapon systems knowledge that also drive interaction between industry, procurement, and the users much more collaboratively to speed up development and innovation. At the same time, in the big programs, we have a cultural aspect of working these programs more towards risk avoidance and, I would say, legal clearance. Still in many countries, while we should go more for output orientation and also be more diligent in managing our vendors. The final comment is we need to deregulate as much as we can, and we also need to digitize these processes to be much more quicker. One other aspect, of course, when we talk about money, one thing is to spend it effectively, the other thing is to manage it and optimize the spend in a sustainable way. And Steve, I think we have experiences there also in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, cost optimization is my favorite subject, Germar. And I think it's very important for all defense organizations. We're hearing lots of pressure to increase defense spending, but we all know that budgetary pressures on countries is really severe too. So you've got to get as much military capability for your pound, your euro, your dollar as you can. So this is a very important topic. And we've recently been, over 3 years, very successful in helping to find £3 billion of efficiencies. And I know you've had similar programs in Germany, so it can definitely be done. And we've done this in naval platforms, air platforms, land platforms, IT services. Part of our offering here is we also build up the client's capability as well. So when we finish, we leave them with the capability to actually find hundreds of millions of euros or pounds of their own savings. So it's a really important area and all defence organisations really need to embrace. We can't really have a conversation about defence without mentioning AI.
So defence software is now something that is also supported by artificial intelligence, something you cannot, that will stay, right, and will drastically increase and might even win the battle at the end. Artificial intelligence, the way we view it today, used for ISR or target detection, support areas like predictive maintenance, etc. So there's many use cases already, but specifically in Europe, the defense industry has been rather slow in adopting AI use cases. Other countries like China, the USA, but also Russia are progressing this very aggressively. I think what we need in Europe in order to basically stay competitive and also stay competitive with our industry, it's more like a unified AI strategy for defense. At the moment we have a lot of AI strategies around the place, but maybe we don't have it so much for AI in defense, and that is something where we need to build an ecosystem. We need to get away from a very fragmented vendor landscape with smaller companies. We need to basically inject capital. So there's a lot to do to stay competitive. At the same time, I think it is well known that artificial intelligence is always as good as the data basically it gets to be trained. Many defense organizations, we still have a huge task to do because we are still faced with rather low data quality, a lack of the master data definition and data standards. Also, basically in communicating between allies. There's tools, of course, on the market who can basically help to do this, but we've got homework to do in order to get basically our systems more capable. And this also goes hand in hand with the cloud efforts we see at the moment. So we see NATO specifically improving and their cloud capabilities, huge tenders at the moment. This is, of course, the way to go. But these projects are complex. I think we need to take effort to make them succeed as much as we can. And by the way, in the context of the Munich Security Conference, we are also presenting a fresh viewpoint on artificial intelligence.
Great. I'm looking forward to reading that, Germar.
Thank you.